I want to bring you up to date on the news conference up in Lancaster, New Hampshire, following the tank collapse that killed two. Let's listen to Fire Marshal Bill Degnan.
At the loss of their family members, it'd be greatly appreciated. And as you can see, there's still a lot of work going on out on the investigation. We had taken some aerial photographs earlier and looked at the scene from above. We could clearly see the path of where the wind came from. There'll be a statement coming out a little later this afternoon with all those details as the National Weather Service writes that up for us. They were on the scene assisting us earlier today in looking at the damage from the wind, both out in the fields behind us for approximately a little better than a half a mile to a mile out. You could see a definite path of the wind event that approached the tent. Other than that, we're still continuing to work on interviews. I thank you for reaching out with your messages to the public to let us know if they were here last night. That is working, because we've had a number of people contact us by email, by telephone, and some of the people that have shown up here at the gate. So I thank you for putting that message out. And at this time, I'll take a few questions.
Are you getting an appropriate level of cooperation from the circus?
Yes, that cooperation level has improved greatly, and we're getting good information from them as we speak. Each one of them is being interviewed in detail.
What did they tell you about what happened and what warning they did or didn't have, and what warning they did or didn't give to the people?
Those interviews are going on as we speak, and so I don't have that information as yet. Annabelle, A-N-N-A-B-E-L-L-E.
Sir, did the
is Young.
And Robert Young?
Yes.
41, and what was the other age?
8.
So did the circus have the necessary permits?
The circus did not have a place of assembly permit, and that's one of the things that we're looking into.
So is that a criminal violation potentially?
We need to look at the statute in detail before I can say whether it falls into that category or not.
And what about a building permit? Is that required here in New Hampshire?
This town does not have a building official, so the only time that a building permit would kick in if there was a local ordinance for that, so there's no building official in the town of Lancaster.
I know you're waiting for the National Weather Service to give the kind of detail we might like, but you described a path of an event. Is this something so isolated that it might not have been expectable, or was it something that was part of what was happening and should have been obvious?
That I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you that the path was very clear when you looked at it from the air, in how it took down some trees on a riverbank and then spread out going across the field, and ultimately took down the tent, and there was no damage behind you on the other side of the road.
Was it tornadic?
It does not give that appearance of having any spin to it.
Have you heard the term microburst from the NWS?
I believe that's what they're going to call it, but they're the experts in that, and that's why we asked them for their assistance out here.
What do you believe they're going to call it? I couldn't hear his question. What do you believe?
He called it a microburst, and I believe that that's what the term is that they will probably use, but they are the experts in that field.
Get up about how many more days is this going to take? Obviously, it's a pretty complex.
We'll be here at least into tonight, and I know that we'll be doing more interviews tomorrow. And depending on how the weather is this afternoon, we may or may not get done our documentation on the scene.
So how is the circus allowed to perform here without a place of assembly permit? How does that happen?
They just went and set up and did it. I don't know what else to tell you on that.
Given the weather warnings, should this show have been stopped?
The weather warnings were out there, and those interviews will tell how much they knew of those weather warnings. I don't know how much detail they had in regards to the weather.
But shouldn't they have enough information to make a decision about this? Isn't that part of what their responsibility is if they're doing a show here?
Well, their responsibility is for the safety of their guests, and whether they knew or not that the storm was coming, we'll be looking into that. So that's one of the things we need to find out.
It's been reported that they're going to have a show tonight in Grafton. touch with them about that, whether or not they've had that place inspected?
I have talked with the Vermont State Fire Marshal's office in regards to that, and if they're going to have a show over there, it's certainly not going to be with anything from here. And I don't know if they have another group that's traveling or not. I couldn't tell you that.
Is there any update on the numbers of interest going to hospitals throughout the area?
The numbers of injured staying pretty much in the the mid-20s. We're still, it's trickling in as the day goes on, the information, and as you can understand, the hospital's first priority is to their patients, and so we can't disrupt that process. And as we get that, we'll include that in any future written press releases. As we get that, we'll get it out.
Are there any critical injuries?
There were some. And,
So how many people are still hospitalized?
I don't know. I don't have that information with us. We've been focusing on what's going on here in the interviews, and so as that becomes available, we will put together another press release and we'll send it out, as soon as we have it.
Do you know if any others are in life-threatening condition? Any of those hospitalized are in life-threatening condition?
I don't have that.
Mr. Degg, is the circus company cooperating with the investigation?
Sorry.
The circus company cooperating with the investigation?
Yes, they are.
How so?
They're providing all of their employees to us to give us details of everything that went on here during the setup process and the actions up to and including the event that occurred with the wind.
Have or can you have them come out and talk to us?
Yeah, there's some people who are in the tent who say there did not appear to be an evacuation plan which included the employees of the circus. Have you asked them about whether they had ever practiced evacuation, whether they warned the people to get out? There seems to be some belief that they didn't do those things. And in fairness, I think it would be nice to know whether they told you, since they interviewed some, whether they had a plan and whether they assisted the audience in getting out.
I don't have any of that information because the people doing the interviews are gathering that, and until we have those complete and we're able to debrief on those, I won't have that kind of information. But that's important to know.
But you are asking that question.
Yes, that's important to know.
Thank you.
Are all the investigative interviews taking place here at this location?
Yes, they are.
Is there any chance to get, when the interviews are done, to ask them if they would be willing to come out and talk to us?
I can ask them, but I can pretty much probably guarantee you that they're not going to want to speak.
Will any first responders be talking to the media?
The first responders wanted to defer to us in regards to that.
Some of the injuries were serious. Can you talk about what the injuries were, and are you concerned about them being very fatally serious at this point?
No, we lost 2 people, obviously,
those that are in the
from
hospital.
traumatic injuries. And I don't have the status on any of the injured parties.
When it comes to inspections and permitting, does your office have anybody that monitors fairs or circuses? Earlier you were saying that you had to be notified of something in town. So what you're saying is it's the company's job to notify your office that they are coming to town, that they have filed a permit or have a permit, and then you will inspect them?
No, I never said that they have to notify my office. That's a local issue by New Hampshire law. It's not, it doesn't fall into our office. We have assisted different communities in the past with inspections, but it's a local fire chief's responsibility.
Okay. And what you're saying is they were not notified that this circus just came and set up without taking the proper steps?
That is correct.
Do you have the results of your autopsy yet?
They passed away from blunt force trauma.
We couldn't hear the answer.
They passed away from blunt force trauma.
We keep talking about the National Weather Service's warning. Did the circus get that warning? Do you know if they heard that warning, or were they just looking outside and decided it was okay to go?
Like I said, those interviews for what details they had are taking place.
But protocol for, okay. If they didn't have the permit and they also didn't take heed of the severe weather warnings, is this company reckless?
That would be determined through the investigation and looking at all of the details. And at this time, it's really inappropriate for me to make that kind of a statement.
When you say blunt force trauma, do you mean like hit by a piece of pipe? Is there like a stake in the ground or what?
Well, you had a collapse of the the structure, which included steel infrastructure, which included pipes and poles and steel infrastructure for the events that went on in the circus. So that.
And were these blows to the head, to the body? Do you know that?
I do, but I'm not going to release those details.
Mr. Degnan, it's your contention that they should have had the place of assembly permit.
Yes. So I thank you very much, and we will, as we get additional information, we will pass that along through written communications, and we will work with the Department of Safety PIO, Mike Todd, to get those out to you in a readily, fashion. Thank you.